Aside from solid programs in academics and sports and a diverse student population, what makes Fayetteville State University stand out? We'll show you what makes FSU outstanding in performing arts next on Black Issues Forum.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.
Hello and welcome to Black Issues Forum. I'm Deborah Holt-Noel. Fayetteville State University is one of 16 public universities in North Carolina and one of several historically black colleges and universities in the state. So how does it distinguish itself? Well, one way is through its outstanding performing arts series. We're going to meet and talk to the head of the university's performing arts series and their visiting professor in theater, whose work has been enjoyed on The Cosby Show, Steve Harvey Show, and more. But first, let's take a closer look at Fayetteville State University's performing arts series. At Fayetteville State University, they're building community through the arts. You'll find great entertainment and education both day and night at a collection of venues on campus through FSU's Fine Arts Series.
We have the Seabrook series, as well as the Harmony series, as well as the Butler and the Rosenthal Gallery series. So the Seabrook series is our guest artist. The opening performance this year was the Amani Winds. They are the premier wind ensemble in the country. They're an African-American group, and they are also our artist in residence, and 90% of our programming is free to the public. The tagline for the department is building community through the arts, and so that's one reason why the Fine Arts Series is free to bring the community in. And also each of the guest artists that come in will give some kind of workshop that is open to the public that is also free.
These free workshops are just part of the department's Harmony series, which includes lectures and other performances expressly to engage the community. Seabrook hosts choral concerts and plays, summer operas with full orchestras, sets, and costumes, and national touring acts like the Dance Theater of Harlem.
The Dance Theater of Harlem is known for their ballet, and they're just phenomenal on stage and generate a lot of excitement.
Also generating tremendous excitement at Seabrook is the professional Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Maestro Fuad Fakuri.
More and more, the Fayetteville Symphony is building a name for itself in Fayetteville, and that people are aware now that they have a symphony orchestra in Fayetteville, and that it is a good orchestra and it's growing.
The Fayetteville Symphony Orchestra will be performing usually twice a year in the Seabrook Auditorium. Usually in November, then again in February. And a number of our music faculty perform with the symphony, including myself.
An evening of symphonic music is an elegant affair at Seabrook, with musicians draped in gowns or fitted in black tie and an acoustical canopy enhancing every note. Another component of the Performing Arts Series at Fayetteville State University is the Rosenthal Series.
The Rosenthal Gallery is our art gallery for our students, and it provides them opportunity to showcase their talent, but also an opportunity to bring in guest artists to exhibit their works as well.
Students also get to showcase their talents in the Butler Series, an offering of plays and musicals performed on stage in the Butler Theater.
It is a very intimate space. It only seats 200. So any seat in the house is a good seat, and because it's so small, you feel very connected and close to the performers. We do 4 shows a year, main stage productions, generally 2 of those in the fall. One is an African American play traditionally, and one is kind of a potluck. Sometimes it may be a classic, sometimes it may be just a comedy, something we want to do. In the spring, we always do a children's play in February, and we always do a musical in April.
The Butler series provides not only a great source of entertainment to the community, but also an outlet for students to learn, build character, and grow their skills.
Everything is very realistic. The set, it looks like a house. And I just love coming into here and seeing this big house and seeing the yard and seeing everything and knowing that this is what I'm going to be working on, and it motivates me to push that much forward.
This is actually my first play. Professor Warren actually got me into acting. He wanted me to come out for this play. So I auditioned and I ended up getting the lead role.
It was the devil standing there, big as day.
It's awesome. I mean, I wouldn't change this for the world. It's an opportunity that I'm really glad I took on.
Providing a training grounds for young talent and engaging the community while offering the public a tremendous range of attractions and onstage entertainment. The Performing Arts Series at FSU definitely serves the Cape Fear region with something unique to enjoy day and night. And now I'd like to welcome the chair of Fayetteville State University's Department of Performing and Fine Arts, Dr. Earnest Lamb, and visiting professor in theater, Walter Allen Bennett, a former writer for The Cosby Show, executive producer of The Steve Harvey Show, and most recently collaborated with R&B artist Alicia Keys on a television pilot for the Nickelodeon Network. And he's also an award-winning playwright, and I'll stop right there because there's so much more to share about your experience. Welcome to the program, both of you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
And Ernest, I'd like to start with you. Share with us what's coming up this season at Fayetteville State, because what we saw in the package was from the previous season.
Right. Well, we have continued to have a great season. Coming up for the spring, we'll have the in February, we're really excited, we'll have Duke Ellington's A Sacred Concert. Often people don't realize that Duke Ellington also wrote sacred music, probably later on in his life, and so this is an opportunity to feature the Fayetteville Jazz Orchestra as well as the FSU Jazz Orchestra with soloists and choir doing the sacred works of Duke Ellington. So I think that will be the first time that we have an opportunity in the North Carolina area to produce those works for the public, and that is free, and that's in February. At the end of the month of February, we will have a performance by the Lula Washington Dance Theater, and they're from California, and that we're really excited to have them here. They're a contemporary dance ensemble, and we're really looking forward for them coming to Fayetteville for that. Then in April, we are excited to have Grammy Award-winning Diane Reeves to come to campus. So those are kind of the highlights, but we have many more concerts, and also with the Rosenthal Gallery series, and also with the Butler series.
So people should just be encouraged to come on out, visit, check you out online and see what's coming up. Now, how did you bring on our guest Walter to be a visiting professor?
Well, we have been looking for a visiting professor. Last year we had the Amani Winds as our artist in residence, and they were for music, and I was looking for someone to kind of serve in a similar capacity for other areas in the performing and fine arts, and so I was really hoping to find someone in theater. So I spent about a year looking for someone, and finally was put in contact with Walter, and we began discussions about coming to campus and what he would do with his experiences and what he could bring to the table and what our students could learn from him, and it just seemed like a perfect fit. And so it was really great. I'm really excited that he was able to come here and to work with our students at FSU.
Well, I'm sure the students are excited as well, and I'm sure people would want to know, and you probably answered this question a million times, but what's it like to work with a Bill Cosby, Steve Harvey?
It's really fascinating. It's interesting because, you know, when you get there and you're doing the work, a lot of times in the very beginning, you're so focused on doing the work, and you don't realize who you're working with. You just want to make sure that you bring to the table what they're bringing to the table. And for instance, when I first started working with Bill Cosby, I think it was a table read. It dawned on me. I looked up and I went, that's Bill. No. You know, but I went to work with Cosby. I was a playwriting student at Yale, and I went straight from, before I even graduated from Yale, I was asked to write for the Cosby Show.
You must have been something else to be asked to write for Cosby at that stage.
I didn't believe it. I met with them, and I said, I've never done this before, and I'm just honored that you would bring me in, and we talked, and well, you know, and everything, and then I went back to New Haven and started working on a play. And I got a phone call saying, look, I know they made an offer, but we still have to talk. And I said, what are you talking about? And they said, he said, well, don't you know they want you to write for the Cosby Show? And that just opened up.
And so now you get to bring that experience plus your experience with Steve Harvey and also writing plays as an award-winning playwright to the students at Fayetteville State University.
Yes, and it's very enjoyable because they're an open book, an open slate, and they just take in everything that you have to offer, and they're just willing to take it all in. It's great.
Wonderful. Are you finding that there is a large number of African Americans now, Earnest and Walter, who are wanting to enter the arts, particularly television and film? And I'll start with you.
Well, I believe African Americans have always been interested in the arts, and if you could look through, especially through music history, we look at jazz, we look at gospel music, so we have always been involved in the arts. And one of the things I like to, because I am a music historian by training as well as a cellist, I try to tell students that African Americans have been involved in every aspect of the arts, from classical music as well to more popular forms. And so that there are, sometimes people feel that I only can do this one thing, and I want to open the world to them and say, you can do this, you can be involved in this, you can be a composer, you can be a writer. And that's one of the reasons about bringing Walter in, is to open up the world, to let people know, our students especially, the opportunities that are available to them in the performing and fine arts.
What gaps are you finding exist, primarily that you try to fill in your teaching as you have this interaction with the students?
I think technology brings a gap because with technology and in a sense of anyone can, if you can put something on YouTube, you can make yourself a star. And television shows have changed so that we have reality shows, and they start to lose a sense of writing a narrative piece, a play, or something that has a beginning, middle, and end. There's a sense of what's the difference between being an artist versus being on television, or being, on YouTube, or being on any of the, Twitter, or however else you can put yourself out there. And so the gap comes to, no, there's an art form here. There is, I remember when I first started out as an actor in New York, and you go back to family reunions or things like that, and they go, well, I used to do plays. I used to be, and it was like, no, I studied this. No, this is
right.
So,
you're sort of taking away the credibility here.
There's a gap between the actual work that an artist has to do versus how quickly, well, they didn't do that on Jersey Shore. They're on TV.
It must be so difficult to compete with that.
It is.
Because the reality is, these are the folks who are the stars now.
They are the stars, but longevity, and what do you really have to say, and what do you, when you're older, what are you passing on? And I'm not knocking a Snooki or a whoever they
basketball
are,
wise.
or basketball. It's just
we didn't say that.
When we do art, we also think about our legacy. We really do.
as professional
yes, as professional
actors
yes.
and people in actually in the industry.
Yes.
I was going to ask you about reality TV and how it's impacted the opportunities out there for aspiring writers and actors, and has it diluted the opportunities?
Well, you know, do we have like 4 hours? I mean,
we have a portion of 4 hours.
Portion of 4 hours. You know, the idea that reality TV, I mean, it has impacted a great deal in the arts. But one thing that I point out for African American artists, behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, we've always been impacted. And, you know, I was speaking earlier, having an earlier conversation about, for instance, George Lucas has just made a film called Red Tails. Well, you know, and he spent $58 million doing this film. And it is primarily African-American cast. It's about the Tuskegee Airmen. And he took it out to the studios trying to get it distributed, and they were turning it down. And my comment earlier was, they will accept a film about a horse, Secretariat, before they will accept a film about, not an African-American film, but a film about World War II heroes. And that is still a struggle that impacts not only those on the screen, but those who work primarily behind the scenes as writers and directors.
And I was going to extend that to you also, Earnest, because when we talk about the arts, it's not just television and film, talking about musicians and getting into the symphony and dancers and so forth. I imagine is it still harder for African Americans to break through and achieve some sort of success?
Well, you know, what I find as students come to FSU, and I've been in education now, at every level from public school all the way up to the collegiate level. And sometimes what I find is what I refer to as the idolization of American culture, in that because of the reality shows like American Idols and other reality shows, students have a misunderstanding of what the arts are about and the kind of commitment and the kind of training that it takes. I think there are plenty of opportunities, but whether or not are they prepared to go into those different areas. And so they go to American Idol and they see that and someone won and they say it's just talent. Well, yes, talent is part of it, but then there's also the idea of, you know, training. Did you go to voice lessons? Do you understand how music operates? Because we are talking about longevity. We're not talking about I have a career for, you know, a couple of albums and then it's over. We want to produce students that can have a career for a lifetime in the arts, and that's what we're trying to train. And so it's really working with the students to change their mindset, that when I come to school and I am going to study in one of the areas of the performing arts, that it really is preparation for a lifetime career, a lifetime commitment in the arts. And it's not always about being on stage and being a star, but what does it take to, you know, what are you going to do in the meantime? Do you have a plan to get there? You know, how many auditions I'm going to have to go to? How does that work? Because I guarantee you, if you look at the audition shows for, you know, So You Can Think You Can Dance, people go back year after year. They've gone to those auditions 3 or 4 times. So there is work that happens, and I think that is missed on those type of shows, that students don't realize it's long-term commitment, work, constant and continuous improvement on your craft. And there has to be a commitment there, because, you know, it ain't easy. And so you have to be really committed to doing the work and being the best you can, and then being prepared so when an opportunity comes around that you're prepared to take advantage of it.
And so at Fayetteville State University, in addition to the theater program, in terms of performing arts, if someone's an aspiring dancer, what other areas?
We have music, also theater, the visual arts, and we have a dance minor.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I understand that you are working on a play for the university.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, earlier in the year, I directed A Raisin in the Sun at Indiana University. And during the course of directing that play and working on that play by Lorraine Hansberry, of course, in the play, Walter Lee Younger is there. You know, the story is that they're trying to move, wanted to move out of the inner city and into the suburbs. And it was at a time in 1950s, 1959, where that was just, there was redlining, where you really just could not move because they wouldn't sell you a home there. And they managed to make that happen. But the question was, where have we come from since then? What would the son Travis, who was 10 years old at the time in 1959, he'd be in his mid-50s right now, and there was an unborn child, where would they be, and what would their children be like? What has happened with the opportunities that has happened since the 50s to 2012? And so much has happened with regards to presidents being wounded and tragic history of and elected African American president. So the tentative title for the piece is "Then Came Tomorrow," and it's trying to embrace where we have come from the 1950s to now to as not just as African Americans, but at one time we wrapped sandwiches with wax paper. There was no such thing as baggies and plastic garbage bags, and now we have computers that can go on your wrist, laptops and tablets, and tremendous changes. Technology. We were talking about, big box black and white TVs, and now you have a television that you can watch on your phone. How has that impacted us as a people? And when I say as a people, as Americans, and where do we go from now? And so it's looking to encompass a whole lot, but it's time to really touch on the essentials because, where are we going? What are we doing? That we are at a pivotal point right now that I think we really need to take stock. We really, really need to take stock. And so how to do all of that in a creative manner, in an entertaining manner, in a manner that, really so that one can absorb the whole subject matter, that's my task at hand, and that's what I'm working on.
Sounds like a tremendous yet fascinating project and endeavor.
It's really fascinating for me, and there are things now that our children and our young adults and students at the university that they have at their fingertips that we could not even imagine, even in the 70s. It's
mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling.
It really is.
is.
Now, for a play like this, who is eligible to be cast in it? How does that work?
Well, I'll turn to my producer.
People will want to know.
Right. Well, it's one for I have to wait till the play is written to have a better understanding. But I'm hoping to, because this is the first time actually that FSU has commissioned a play, and I think it's important that as an HBCU that we are in a position to help nurture the future and other, African Americans being involved in it, as well as having established artists and musicians and playwrights come to campus and share their craft with our students. And what I'm hoping is that we have an opportunity perhaps to bring in a recognized name to be a part of the play, as well as use some students and some community people involved in the play as well. So I'm looking for it to be a really exciting event when it happens, and that this would be the beginning of really commissioning other works, perhaps an opera or a symphony or something like that. I think FSU needs to be in the business of contributing to the art form. If we're going to be part of our strategic plan is to be a cultural intellectual center, and these kind of activities really, I think, contribute to that goal. So we're looking forward to doing this.
Well, it's been a pleasure having both of you on the program. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And again, I'd like to thank Dr. Ernest Lamb and Walter Allen Bennett Jr. for coming out this afternoon. For more information on today's show or to get in touch with our guests, visit us online at unctv.org/BIF. You'll find links to email us your comments and join us as fans of BIF on Facebook. Or you can call us on the BIF line at 919-549-7167. Be sure to meet us right back here each Sunday afternoon at 4:30. For Black Issues Forum, I'm Deborah Holt Noel. Thank you for spending your time with us.
Quality public television is made possible through the financial contributions of viewers like you, who invite you to join them in supporting UNC TV.